Interview with David Rudder for Caribbean Tempo, October 1994. David, welcome to Caribbean Tempo.
It's my pleasure to be here.
The year 1978, you were working in somewhat crazy in your county department, PTSA.
That's right, yes.
You said that all the lovely girls passing around inspired you to write Douglas Woman.
That's right, yeah.
Let's get the story again.
Well, Star Wars is a, you know that Star Wars, kind of mixed Star Wars has African, East Indian and so on. So this used to be passing by me every day in my little office, where the charity bus route now is, you know. There was one morning this young lady passed by, you know, and said, well, you know, she's the essence of Star Wars, this is girl one. So that was the inspiration for that song.
And so Douglas Woman was born.
Yes.
1978, your first release, was it your first recording?
No, I had done, that was back in 1974, 75, a song called Mother Earth. 𝐔𝐕 had just been killed, and I had written a song called Mother Earth. The whole country was in guerrilla fever at that time, with Beverly Hills and Beverly Jones and so on. And Mother Earth was reflecting that sort of thing, whatever was happening in society. Cape unfortunately got erased at TNH, which is our Coral Studios, and out of that came the Woman actually came out of that. That was one that I didn't put it down yet, so that became my first recording.
So at what point did you actually start writing?
I started writing when I was about
14, 15.
Yeah. A lot of the songs I do now came from my teenage years. You know, sometimes I never threw away any things that
It's very tough and polish it.
So sometimes I would go through some old box or something and find a song. And this year I'm doing one from my 1995 album called It Only Natural, which was something that I did from that time. There's one on the Ministry of Rhythm called Five Queens, came from that time also.
Okay, let's go back. Michael David Rudder was born.
I was born in Belmont, 1986. Yeah.
Your parents, your father.
Yeah.
Name of your parents?
Lionel McLean. And my mother is Shivada.
Your mother still alive?
She's still alive. My father died in 1983.
What field were they in? Your father
my father was working in oil field.
Oil field.
Yeah, my mother was just housewife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were they musically inclined in any way?
My mother used to sing in school and so school choir and so on, but never a professional.
You say you inherit your singing style from your mother?
Well, I'm the only one in the family that so inclined. So maybe just maybe come from maybe somewhere down in my ancestry or some singer or something.
Growing up in Belmont, so what schools you went to?
I went to Belmont Boys RC, and then I went on to Belmont Academy.
So you said at 14 you actually started writing,
yeah.
But some of your creative writing skills should have come out in your literature and so on in school. Didn't you?
Yeah, I'm
a tendency to write.
Yeah, I was a great lover of English from the start. You know, like if I didn't get in the 90s in English, I would be very disappointed because I loved English. Things like spelling, comprehension, composition, and so on. I couldn't stand maths. And sometimes I have to be hard on them, but they have the same thing. Same sort of, you know.
They inherited that.
Yeah, they're very good English sometimes, you know.
Growing up in Belmont, just on the outskirts of the capital city, what was it like? You know, the games you play and the kind of life in Belmont?
Yeah, well, it was a different time to now, definitely. Jockey racing and the other river in the back of Boston area, we used to do that, and play all the games that kids played at that time. Because we didn't have much television and video games and so on. We used to go down to Chinatali and get a top or make good videos up and so on. And season time, you go to Savannah and see the hikes and around there, things like that.
Any of your early friends from that era and that area has accomplished anything in music or sports that you can recall of? If you're really about it, friends?
Well, I haven't. Most of the guys I know at that time have either migrated, or some of them have become successful. I know like Jesse Russo, we grew up together from primary into secondary. He's now official in the LWCU, so on. He plays Javara's rugby. Every so often I come across one of the guys.
Okay. Growing up in your first years, the last decade of the colonial era in Trinidad and a time when Calypso was now picking up stride, what is your early experience with Calypso? Your first time at the tent or some of the Calypsonians you heard in that era?
At that time, tent was like out. I was actually just like a very young person now into a lot of pop music and so on. That was the era of just turning 60s, mid-60s and so
rock and roll era internationally?
No, rock and roll I wasn't so much into rock and roll. I was more into a lot of folk, like and funk, like Sly and Family Stone, folk instruments like Bob Dylan, Simon and Garfunkel, the whole Motown experience, because Motown was the only really positive black thing that was happening at that time, Smokey Robinson and the Sport Hub, the Temptations and everybody, things like that. Stevie Wonder was always someone, Stevie Wonder was the main person I looked into. I think in hindsight I felt like two reasons for that. We were born almost the same time, but he's also me, and we both had like some sort of disability from early in life, So
55 now.
Right. So Stevie Wonder was my main focus. Stevie Wonder and Sly.
But even earlier.
But at that time also, I in Trinidad, like I grew up with, especially the Sparrow. Sparrow was the main thing, Lord Melody. That's why, and the thing is, that's what's different now. I think there's so many distractions now. Like, I grew up listening to like Melody, Sparrow, King Solomon, that Zandali, and so on. All these songs stuck in my head. Like it's like I remember them
as a part of your boyhood.
Like when I did this year, I did that Sparrow tribute, and most of those songs I did are like things I remembered, right? Madame Dracula and all those things. I remember them. I used to sing them just like that because they were stuck there. I think it's because we didn't have that, we were more focused then. So it's a whole lot of different musical experiences that shape me today.
Do you have any memory of Trinidad independence in 62? You're quite young then. What was it like for you?
I just remember the raising of the flag and there was a kind of excitement in the air. I remember it was all these, especially growing up, sort of like excited about having independence. It was a whole catchy kind of fever. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was kind of looking at how the country was running these days, and he was saying, in hindsight, I remember when the guy was, when the flag was going up, the soldier who was putting the flag up, he painted. I couldn't remember that actually, but I remember that.
That's so emotional.
Yeah.
But growing up in Belmont, what did you dream of becoming today?
That's what I'm doing now.
Did the dream come true?
Yeah, that was I was always very sure what I wanted to do from very early in life. That's the advantage I had. Yeah. Also, I used to paint. Actually, in some places I was known more for my painting than singing.
What kind of painting?
Mostly watercolor and
do you still
charcoals. Yeah. Actually, a lot of people behind me to do an exhibition, but I had the time and so on, you know. So I'm focusing on 95 as the whole one, and I was also trained in metalwork by Ken Morris. I was one of his trainees. All the things you see, copper work you see around the town today, and some in people's homes, and so I actually did it, you know, under his tutelage.
Okay, so after school, and after all these training, what was your first actual job? Was it PTSD?
No, my first job actually was working with Ken Morris.
Ken Morris.
Yeah.
And
then
what year? What year are you talking about?
That was about 1972, 73 around there. Because I left school around 70. And actually my first job actually was it wasn't 10 days, it was 5 days. I was one. They had just opened up around 70 after the whole Black Power upheaval, so they suddenly opened up all these projects all over the place. And there was one in my area, and I used to get regular. I was one of the first project workers in Trinidad because it was just opening. I got a job, you know, digging dirt.
Right, and then you moved on.
Then after that I got the job at Ken Morris's place, trained with and so on.
How many years you stayed with him?
I stayed about 2-3 years with him.
And then
I got the job at PTSD.
And you stayed with them until you decided to make music your full time career.
Yeah.
Okay, that 70s period, a time when soca was young.
Yeah.
And you had on the local scene, a lot was happening, coming out of Cage and out of Temp. You had Naggy the Horn, Denise Plummer, Beaver, Robin Mancha, Wildfire. A lot of good music coming out, so great music. And that time you came out, a young guy. The first I heard of you is that you were working with PTSD at the Crazy. The music really sounded good. You had that first record, Douglas Woman. What kind of airplay you got and what kind of response?
Oh, Douglas Woman was actually was very good for me. It was actually my first song that was released, and it was my first hit. I sold a couple thousand. That was I remember 𝐔𝐕 was my best friend. And we went every record shop in Trinidad, driving and selling these things.
And those days there were many record shops.
Yeah, and suddenly it began to pick up, you know. And I was my own distributor from very early. All my records, even those with roots, you know, my own productions from the very beginning. And that was really went down well. And that's what caused me to have a follow-up with this iReggae music. Yeah. That wasn't as successful as the role because at that point in time now there was a bit of xenophobia in the air. People saying it's more Jamaican music playing. Same thing you're hearing now, you know. And then so it didn't get as much airplay.
But let's go back a bit. Douglas Woman, it was a career of Cage.
Yeah.
Did you enter a contract with them?
No. I paid them my money and did my recording and took my tapes and that was.
Right. So based on the success of Douglas Woman, you followed up with iReggae music. It was not as successful. That same year you came out with another single, Stay.
Yeah, there's a guy, Wade Simon, he had these songs in the studio and he wanted a...
Wade Simon, is that Griner?
No, Griner is Kate Simon.
Kate Simon,
Wade Simon, he's migrated now, but he has written a couple of songs and had them in the studio there and he wanted singers to voice them. So I was paid to do that.
Oh, I see.
That music was already set there and I just went in, got my money. They handed me the words of the song and I sang it. And it still became a hit also. Actually, there was another song from that era that I redone later on the Ministry of Rhythm album, a song called Fireman. Yeah.
After 1979, somewhere along between 1979 and 81, you linked up with Charlie's Roots. Yeah,
because in the late 70s I was working in the tents. At that time I was a freelance singer, so I was be like, hence the reason why I was hired to do that song, Stay, and so on. And
singing what, backup chorus?
Anything. I was a freelance singer then. You know, like, you want a lead singer, you want someone to do a concert, you want a background vocals. You know, from the 70s, mid 70s on, nearly all the cultural records that came out, you'll find Carl and Carol. I myself, a party holder.
Yeah.
You know, we did most of the records that came out at that time. And we also found the head until about 80 when I linked up with
Okay, tell us about that experience. Roots approached you to sing for them.
Yeah, Tambu was singing the roots at that time.
Right.
And I, being a freelance singer, he had lost his voice actually. And I think he had a long recovery. He had all those problems and so on. And so they hired me to
Bridge the gap.
bridge the gap until he came back out, you know. When he came back, the vibe was going to the roots, and I was already writing, producing my own work, and Fela was arranging his stuff. He was also producing stuff, so we came together and we did a song, Jungle Fever. And then I decided, well, look, you know, this is a good vibe here, and did really bad.
Right. So for the next 5 or 6 years, you released a lot of records as part of Charlie's Roots Carnival offering.
Yeah.
That's why say Jungle Fever was the major hit. What kind of response you got to Jungle Fever?
Oh, it was great, and it was a built-in kind of hit because Roots had started in '77 with Peter Mitchell. That was a band called Zodiac.
Right.
Right. The both bands were launched at the same time. Roots. There was no band playing soca music in Trinidad at that time. The music was just bubbling, but there was no band. So someone came with the idea of forming a band to play specifically soca music, the new root music of Trinidad. And the band was called that. That's how the Roots got the name. And Peter Mitchell had come with his new ideas and so on. So there was this idea to launch both bands together. Since Roots was going to play music for this new Zodiac band and this new designer, Peter Mitchell. So the two bands came out together. And when I came into the band, that year they were playing Jungle Fever. And I had the idea, why not do a song called Jungle Fever, you know? And we went ahead and without Mitchell or anybody knowing anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a kind of instant hit. All the followers, it was a huge following. So it was sort of like tailor-made and it hit one time.
But the interesting about that album is that there were quite a few tracks with experimental music, and the album got a lot of airplay after Carnival.
Yeah.
Things like Ivy Tempo and Late in the Evening was well received.
Yeah.
So really. Now, 82 didn't see any offering from David Rudder.
No, I think 82. That was the year of Dance Macabre. No, I can't remember what happened in 82, but I don't think we did
Actual recording.
actually recording for that.
Mm-hmm. However, 83 with the multinational force, yeah, quite a few recordings.
Yeah, we did.
Tell us about the multinational force.
Yeah, well, Pelham had the idea too that at that point in time that since
The Grenada incident.
no, yeah, it was the Grenada. No, what happened was Jamaican musicians, which and they still do it today, would take North American hit songs and cover them with a reggae beat,
mm-hmm.
you know, and saying, well, why not
do it in
soca, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that time there was something going on, some military thing going on
in Grenada, where the Caribbean island sent a multinational force.
Right.
Grenada.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Right. And then so we decided to call create a band within a band, a mystery band. Like
Mm-hmm.
the multinational force could have been anybody. Like if next week we call in Nappy to do a track, or we call Pharaoh to do it, the person would be like invisible inside the thing. People would know, recognize the voices, but the multinational force could have been anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how those multinational force records came into being.
2 releases, you sang Soca Night, a cover version of Jimmy Cliff's Reggae Night.
Yeah.
And the second record, Mr. Man and Break My Stride. Break My Stride covering Matthew Wilder's
Right, that's right.
Those
in the evening by Paul Simon also.
Right. Well, those records receive a lot of airplay.
That's right.
And what kind of sales we were looking at in those days?
At that point in time, record sales were on the wane in Trinidad. From the 70s, where you could have sold 30,000 records in Trinidad, to the 40,000. Right now, it has reached a point where if you sell 3,000 records, it's like brilliant, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was starting to drop then. I believe that was out of our hands because I think that was was co-produced with Coral. But we would be paid, you know, some royalties and so on.
The following year, Carla Luke,
Yeah.
also in association with Mitchell.
Yeah. Because people missed the fact that we after Jungle Fever. So we decided that okay, let's no, that was it Carlo or was that the River?
The River was from 83.
Yeah.
83 and the following year 84.
Yeah.
So after Jungle Fever, you also did The River from Intro.
Right.
And in 84, Carla Luke.
Hallelujah. So we started a trend and it took off from there. We just kept on going with it.
But having a song with the band and then playing on the road for all carnival days with the band, what was it like? You know, you sang the theme song and then you lead the entire band.
Yeah, it was
on
like,
the street.
It was like a new style of the chanteur because that's how carnival used to be in the old days. Bands used to have a particular song, and, you know, like a singer. It's still done that way in Brazil. In Rio Carnival is like that. They have a particular song that different summer schools, so they call the band over there make. Each band have their own song. Here, that has disappeared, and it has been merged through the Mitchell. The whole chanteur idea of having a particular song for the band, and it created a sort of cemented like a cult vibe within the band, you know.
So how do you handle it? You know, after performing at the carnival, Calypso 10s and all the different other commitments, you're on the road for the entire Juve to last lap with the band.
Carnival is basically a mindset, you know. It's basically a mindset.
You go with the energy.
Yeah, you go with the energy. Back in '86, I remember I used to be making sometimes 12 appearances a day. And that's every day, you know. From like 6 to 8, 12.
You psych yourself up.
It's a mindset.
1984-85 Carnival, Calabash.
Yeah.
Continuing with that trend of the
Yeah, that one was like to me that was more of a revolutionary step because what happened is Caleb and I had stayed back in New York and we did a few gigs up there, and we had some money, we got paid a little money, and we decided, look, let's take the money and make a record up here, you know. And then we got some people type from Charlie, our son Charles in New York, and we put this record together. And that was the start of the whole roots. You know, it took us in a different track because it was our production totally.
You had all those songs written and waiting, or you just came up with it?
Yeah, we had written some of them, Carnival Story and Calabash and so on. And 𝐔𝐕 Rockin' was a song that was done by some guys, Imagination Brass from St. Thomas. And it was a hit in New York at the time. So we said, why don't we do a version of 𝐔𝐕 Rockin'? And so we put that on, and we also did Johnny King's Just Plan and kind of reggae style and so on.
Okay, 1986. We'll go down in history as the year of David Rudder. So let's look at it. Before 86, the only people to win both the Calypso King and the Road March title in the same year. Pharaoh did it 3 times, Chandler did 1, and Calypso Rose did 1. And looking at the whole Calypso and Carnival, before and now, we see a return to that trend. Because in fact, before Pharaoh won in 56, we had one group of Calypsonians whose material lent towards Road March and one group towards the King. Pharaoh bridged that gap. And since 86, we're yet to see someone win both titles. So you're among a selected 4 to win both titles. Let's take 86 in detail. You came out in 1978, you had a pretty alright record, Silver Woman, you had some of the records, mediocre success, you had some quite good response with Charlie's Roots, Peter Minshaw's Carnival offering. 86, there was something special. What would the magic really clicked in 86?
I think it clicked in 85, that's why I said 85 is a revolutionary year. I came third in the Road March in 85 with Calabash. So it broke barriers because you have a song made for a particular band. And you know that the Trinidad is very competitive and no one is going to play a tune for the next band and so on. And yet Calabash broke that mold. And I think third he was not that year. So therefore
it opened some doors. Doors started opening.
Yeah. So in one way it was our first real we produce ourselves. Then it started to break barriers. We started to look at youth in a different way. And then 86 came and the funds we got from the sales of Calabash generated this new album, this hammer. And that was it. We just went.
You selecting material for this record. Did you know from there it's going to be special? Sounds like Buy a Girl and Hammer.
Well, Buy a Girl was actually a song I had written a couple of years before. So crazy. We didn't have a record that year. And I did Madness, Buy a Girl, and some other song. I can't remember the one.
But when you offered the Crazy, what was his response?
No, what happened? He didn't have a producer that year, and the manager was in his story. At that time, he said, "Look, you can do record for you." So he said, "Then David write some, then write some songs for you." So then he said, "They didn't go and write for Crazy. I don't think Crazy was too confident. He didn't know anything about it. Knew me singing the band and so on, but I guess so as a Californian kind of established already, and this guy singing in a band, he will write some songs for you. So I was very enthusiastic. I went home and I did Madness and Buy a Girl. I don't really know what it is. Maybe I started it and then I heard that Casey had gone to New York and set up a DJ. But Buy a Girl was actually supposed to be an extension of Muchacha. Remember you had a song, Muchacha.
These songs were especially written off of it,
right? So I started to say, he went to Venezuela last year. I'll put him in Brazil the next year. And I had to, and you feel him, right? That's how that came about, right? And I said, Muchacha, you're going to meet a girl from Brazil. And the song wasn't exactly how I had it, how I sang it. I changed it up to give it a more African vibe with my style, And Madness was, well, I also changed the lyrics in Madness, but the chorus itself, this is not affected here, this is Madness. And you can hear Crazy singing, you can hear Crazy singing, and then I had the songs there. So therefore, like when we started doing the record, we had Buy a Girl and Madness, and then we said, well, let's produce some since Sambu is around, so let's take some of these funds and produce some music for him too.
Let's do these vocals.
So right, because and then we produced those things for him also. And one evening we were working out the song and Buy a Girl and so on. And Rudolph Shatter died. So Kalam said, boy, let me write one. As I was walking out there, he said, I think I was writing a song for the Hammer. Who is the Hammer? So he said, well, that is what it's called. That was his nickname, used to call him Charles. Hammer, pray that. So I said, you have any more nicknames? He said, well, you call me Dragon too. And he had this like, Panda, and I went to one. Really hammer gone, and then I started to feel this is called Train. And I started to add the song and I came back and I said, this is where I get to this thing. And we put it together, we started to work. And that's how that happened. It was just like a whim. It's like walking out, he just said that. And some of the best songs come that way.
And I think it is so important in terms of preserving our history.
Yeah.
How many books you write preserving Rudolph Charles' history? You could never do as much as one song.
Yeah.
20 years on your record.
Right.
Hammer, the entire history is there. It's important as one of the major roles of California Calypso. Once the Calypsos are preserved.
I think so that because I think I don't think what happened in Egypt could happen now. And actually, like the Buy a Girl was around this time.
Yeah.
Maybe now where people kind of tired of the whole wait thing or people kind of complain.
The time was right for it then.
But 86 people were looking for something different that year. And I just happened to be the man who had it. That was the first year they changed the government today.
So everything was changing.
Everything was changing.
Because I remember that year, we played Juve with Peter Samuel.
Yeah.
And that's the year you decided to go downtown. And we jump all through Woodbrook and all through St. Clair. And the only song that was played over and over was the 𝐴 playing the instrumental, and you were coming and singing.
Even the guys in Bruce, they didn't like the, they didn't really, you know, because they always, you know, there's always feeling that, there's feeling that a roadman has to be fast, you know, clean, you know. And I said that this is a dangerous song in the recording. It's really dangerous, that smoking, you know. You see, once there's so much beauty in many songs that pass across. The right time people hear the beauty and you know, but sometimes the frenzy I like it. The music getting mixed along the way.
Yes, I agree. So you were selected for the Calypso Fiesta semi-finals.
Yeah.
Carnival 1976. You were selected for 86. You were selected for the Calypso Fiesta. Do you have any problem selecting a song?
Oh no, I knew Haman Bayer girl had taken off, and there's no need to change these two songs at all. You know? That was it.
Okay. 86 a tremendous year. Young King, Calypso Monarch, Road Match Champion, winning Bahama Tune. You did it all.
Yeah.
Did that influence you deciding to up out of competition a year or so later?
Yeah, that was part of the reason. The other reason is, the main thing is that I grew up with a different, a whole different musical experience to the average Californian. His world is very fragile. It's like people liking, whether they like the music this year, or if they have a hit this year or not, or if you're King, you will match King of the Calypso King, and you know, it's like the desperation to have a hit, so to speak, you know, and you have to keep proving yourself in the Calypso world all the time. This Sparrow feels he has to come back sometimes because he, you know, people kind of just among
the question is,
can you do it again? After this man put so much tons of music, you cannot just kill that Sparrow is brilliant, and yet he has to come back and prove, you know, but he gone through, and you know, so the whole society needs to create a kind of fragile, kind of insecure kind of vibe. But because I came out of a different experience, I started singing, and long before other Californians, because I started back in 1965. You know, I don't have that. I don't share that kind of thing. I just want to, I get the music and meet other musicians, and, you know, and things like that. So that when 86 to me was like getting known in the wider world. You know, people had a nice strong underground following in here that people would know there's a beginning of a concert and quote it between the 70s and the 80s, and so I had that sort of following, but now this was about taking me in the wider arena, and therefore the contest, the March and everything was like that stepping stone, and I was given everything in 1 year. So you know what else do I want? You know, I went back the next year simply because it was expected of me to go back, and unfortunately I wasn't in the best of health, so I couldn't really put on my belt. But I would have liked to really win again and just meet a good team.
In second to talent.
Yeah, that's right.
But that song that year, Calypso Music, was a real gem. And I thought at that time that was one of the songs that we could probably release internationally and get some of it. Was it ever released outside of Trinidad?
Oh yes, from 86 I got a lot of people. It was like what's happening with Lara Mania, or Brother Mania at that time, and international people came down and signed a contract with record companies, London Records. So all these albums began to be released internationally. Actually, Haiti was the first ever CD, Calypso CD. Yeah, that was like a piece of history there. So I love to go on
the following year, 87, that is very first album, 80s. You always tend to have strong feelings about suffering of Mother Nature. You talk about all the songs you wrote for South Africa. Way back in 87, 88, Haiti, I'm sorry. It really touches in the most sympathies and so on because, but yeah, we all in school read about Kusela also on struggles, and we all knew that Haiti from day one was always one of the leading nations, and they led these struggles and so on. And they have suffered. A song like Haiti, did it take long to write?
Oh no, I always was a lover of history, and to me the most important thing that happened in our hemisphere is the Haitian Revolution. And one time I was in New York by a friend of mine, and he had a Haitian cab driver falling off, and that because of that I just went upstairs and I said maybe I should write a song about it, because to me, what Haiti has become is what the Caribbean could become, and so Haiti could be our future. So that's what the song was basically a warning to the other nations of the Caribbean. This could be our future. So Haiti's glory is actually our redemption, and that sort of thing. And there's another reason why I can't really go into a competition again. I mean, because the buyer girl in Hammer happened, and but another time it would just dismiss that. My spirit, I cannot write for a competition. Like people say, I write a serious song and I write a party song to mix it again. My spirit don't move like that. I do listen to people. I listen to how the music comes in. And once I stop following that, then I'm in trouble. So I can't go in a competition with that. Again, that happened. I had to go there. It was your destiny. That was my destiny. I had to go in and sit there. But I can't stay there. Because my music is not like that about that. And I cannot write things. Nearly every year I write things nothing that people are pleased with or like. So they come back and say after. They come back and say after, boys, I was calling that, saying that thing was all that crap, I can't write crap, so as far as I'm concerned, but I know what happens. I know what happens because, so therefore, and people know what they call it a masterpiece. So then, if that person could say, well, it's crap today and 6 months after call it a masterpiece, it means I have to know more than that person in front to know that what will happen to that person. But that person can't really guide me towards writing. It has to come from somewhere else. You see?
There's 2 songs survived from that Haiti and Rally Around the West Indies. You play that whenever the West Indies play.
That album is it's my most successful album. It's so intense. Actually, all the songs survived. Bacchanal Lady survived. Panama survived. Engine Room survived.
And the version of Shadows and One Love.
So Haiti Rally and One Love is now in a Hollywood movie.
Your version?
Yeah, right. It's just been released in a movie. So it's still the album's still happening.
It will be the second Shadow composition to be in a movie.
Yeah.
So you're saying Haiti, your most successful selling record so far?
Yeah, definitely.
So despite all the success with Bahia Girl, Haiti has outsold Bahia Girl.
Oh yeah, Bahia Girl was never released. Bahia Girl was only released on vinyl and so because the company was deciding whether this new CD technology had just come out in '86, and they wanted to know maybe we should put it on CD, and they started to procrastinate, and then they said, well, okay, we'll leave it for the next year, the Haiti album, and actually Bahia Girl and The Hammer, depending on where the record was released, was on the Haiti album internationally.
Right.
Yeah. But the album as it itself was never really released.
Followed up the Power and the Glory, Super Island, Trinidad Boy, Tobago Boy, One More Officer.
Yeah, this one
for Lonely Soul.
Because my whole spirit was about moving from step to step. I think after the Hammer, Caribbean music album, Haiti album, Power and the Glory. But when I came back to Trinidad, actually I was going to do the 1990 album in '89. And when I came back to Trinidad was really getting into the dark place. All the rage, unions, singing, everybody vexed, there's a whole lot of bitterness within the society. So I changed and I wrote those songs in a split flash, like the Super Island and the Power and the Glory. It was a desperation to listen to the album now. To me, that was his best work, yeah. But it was totally rejected in Trinidad. After the Haiti album was so powerful. It was like, you know, and then suddenly songs like Trinidad Boys, which had written, that was the first song that was written for the football team. Because they had just started little warm-up games and so on, right? And they hadn't even reached the stage where they were going to qualify anyway. And I listened to the people that told TFL was going to write a song. I remember taking a song and they said, well, we wanted to call the guy's names, you know, because basically the way I write, I don't write linear. My side is not linear.
So that the music could live.
Right.
It's not time.
Right. So, you know, that's why radio music forever.
Yeah.
You know? So they kind of rejected the song. And then they had on the road to Italy and, you know, all those songs. And then Dennis Ramsey, I remember, when he started to release the song. And they started to sort of use the song as an ad. And write for the lyrics in the papers and so on. Then we started to catch on also. And I remember just the evening of when we lost the match here to the United States. All the other songs were saying we on the road, we reach Italy already, all kind of things.
Yeah.
They couldn't play any of them. And my song was the only song that was played in the evening. Because the only song, and the song I was saying, it had a verse for, in case this happens, it had a verse of comfort, everything. You know, everything was there. A warning, we have, you know, don't let the energy get spoiled with too much bacchanal. Everything was there. So I let to see where songs from and then in 1990,
so you follow up with this kind of philosophical writing. Let's talk about 1990 because you said it rightly. That period there, 88, 89, and the beginning of 90. Something was happening, everyone was agitated, everybody had a serious right, and they were very vocal about it, and it resulted in what happened in 1990. And 1990 worldwide was a trying time, and you started the year with 1990, to prove you're a liar, and the song was fulfilled.
Yeah, in a sad way, you know, it's like, you know, watching how the world unfolding, you watch Trinidad, you know, and I think I was a bit down too because of Paul the Glory. I think people, I remember someone, the album was Swimming Against the Tide, and I remember too, one of the punch, I think, someone had the dress up like the Pope and say, what, so everybody vexed, and I talking about hold on to the light and all kind of thing, you know, it was like a last ditch attempt, and then so 1990 came out of that, I said, well, alright, this is where we have reached to now, you know, and but the album itself, 1990, was supposed to be South Africa album, which was made in 89. Right. But the song 1990 came just after Carnival of 89. I was making that in Vancouver, you know. And I asked Holly Thomas, I remember that I was actually playing in Washington on New Year's night. And I asked Holly Thomas to please start the New Year. The first song you play. Play 1990, and I sang it, the first song just 1 minute after, into January, I sang it in Washington. So the song I was singing it in Washington and Holly Thomas was playing it here at the same time. And it was really a weird thing.
But you had strong vibes about it. You felt that you're guided by some force of the own spirit.
Yeah, the Power and the Glory was carrying me there. That's why I say I can't listen to that thing. The Power and the Glory was carrying me there. Saying this is the last chance, last hope. You know, it's almost like, you know, we have the power and the glory. We can do it. We don't have to go this long road. You know, and then 1990.
Growing up in Belmont, your family, were you strong churchgoers? What religion did you embrace and all that?
No, I was never really. I went to church as a youngster. I had to go.
Yes.
You know. But I feel my spirit was guided by the whole environment. Like my grandmother was a Baptist. I used to go to church because when she was baptized as a grandmother, and then I had to go to Catholic school. They would say, you can't come in there and go to that. You have to be a Catholic church. Be baptized. And my grandma had baptized me in the Baptist church too. You know, and right up the hill above me, and then was the Shango yard, and then there was the Arada yard over on the valley roadside. So the whole environment had that spirit and energy, you know. There's a young pan man right on the corner, a man called City Kid, and this fellow used to come there and say, look at this fellow, he can really play, you know. And that was Robbie Greenidge, you know. So, you know, it's like a lot of people from that area, you know, like Errol White, the drummer was neighbor next door. He was the community barber at the time. He was the barber, but he used to drum, he beat drums also. You know, the whole Jackie Wonder was on the next side, and his brother Everson Starr. And right on the corner was Lord Beginner. So executed all them old titles they come up by Beginner and line in the house in the corner there. So it was a whole, and Sparrow used to come down the road a little lower down in Faraday, you know. So it was a whole.
That was happening.
Yeah, right in one little area.
1990, he also released an album dedicated to South Africa.
Yeah.
At a time when we were seeing some hope, you know. Now we have a man who moved from prisoner to president. Yeah. But at that time, it was just hope happening.
Yeah.
What inspired you to dedicate a whole album to South Africa? Because normally worldwide singers will have a song dedicated to the struggles in South Africa.
Well, traveling a lot, you know, you realize how much the world is aware of what was happening in South Africa. And that was in 1989 when I came back. So I was going to do this album because I really feel strongly about South Africa's situation. And then, like I said, when I came back and Trinidad was in that turmoil, I Power the Glory came instead. And then after Power the Glory was, but you know, didn't get the response I expected. I said, you know what? Let me bury my whole vibe into these people who really struggling for something, you know.
But you did a certain amount of research to come up with things like Working in the John and Fire in the Lab.
Yeah, I realized to read a lot about South Africa news. You see, that's one of the things that I'm always like listening to news, listening to people talk, read. You know, I like to read and things like that. So all these things I got from absorbing all that knowledge here and there.
Alright, 1991, you had a track in the Charlie Blues album, Total Parties, Savannah Parties.
Yeah.
That's your contribution to Charlie.
Yeah, well, Peckham wanted, he was hired as an arranger for Exodus, and he wanted a song to the band, and you know, we came up with the song Savannah Parties for that and it's one the Panorama too.
92, Frenzy. Rough and Ready, also on that album. Carnival Woman, Stiff Waist Man.
Knock Them Down.
And we also had Nappy's Ebony
Girl.
Yeah. Nappy's that's about your association with Nappy. From my research, the song is Ebony Girl in the 92 album. Only back in 86, he wrote and produced just so very money face.
Yeah.
What kind of relationship do you have with Nappy? What kind of spirit did Nappy have?
Well, Nappy and I, we weren't really like bosom buddies, but we came out of the same era in the 70s. You know, that whole 90s that on. Nappy was like the main producer at that time. And a lot of the music of that, I was from that in terms of Trinidad pop music and so. That was the strongest period of Trinidad music, you know. And I always look back into some, you know, Andrew Tanker's music also. I also, right. So I would sort of look back and see, you know, pick something up from that period and
draw strength.
On it. And you know, we worked together over the years here and there. The soca, the body, you know, he understood where I was coming from, you know, and vice versa.
93, you were quite successful with Dust in Your Face. There was a Panama competition and around. A bit of a research in terms of crowd popularity at the carnival season. But what was happening is that in the period from say 88 to 90, the albums were bigger or after carnival than like inside the carnival. But in 93, you had enough airplay with Dust in Your Face, and you already kicked up on Dust at Panama. Yeah, well, that was basically a reaction to Exodus winning with Savannah Party. Right. So that was like a pyramid thing where that was an instantly tied to what was happening, you know, and it caught on within the carnival situation. Carnival 1994, your album took a little while to grow on people.
Oh no, well that wasn't really so Carnival at all. It got it's funny. It got stuck in the terrible blizzard, and it lasted a long time, and the album got stuck in the ice in the factory. The factory was frozen over. They couldn't do anything with it, so I had to wait till the whole factory was thawed out. They couldn't get the factory closed because they couldn't get the roads open. So that album was released after Carnival, right? And what was playing on the air was a upper cassette of the tape. But the thing about it is that just after that the cricket tour happened, and Here Comes the Western, although it was not a big, it didn't get much airplay. It had sold more than another record that was posted over the last 2 years, simply because all people came to see cricket and so on. This is what I had.
And probably based on also the strength of Ronnie Western music.
That's right, yeah.
Over that. This year you also released a collection of songs on your
Yeah, well, because of the good sales of Here Comes the Western, I was able to take this from the fund and so I produced three CDs this year so far. The greatest hits, it's called the 𝐔𝐕 collection, the Hammer right up the Song for the Soul, and also I did a 1990 album on CD, which was for the first time. The whole added a few extra tracks. I'm also in the possession of producing 𝐔𝐕 in concert, 𝐔𝐕 and 𝐬𝐷𝐾 in all the in concert. I've been producing 5 CDs this year. Yeah.
So you plan to look at other people who have been around the country. Will you stop at 𝐔𝐕 or you call them personally people who are very
well? It depends. That depends on the public. I think right now the Indian room is a foster, and I have put out a lot of money. And if the sales are justified, we go back and maybe look at a couple other people and see if we can produce them also. That depends on the sales. Although I feel funny enough, it's my tongue way, but I feel that this 𝐔𝐕 and 𝐬𝐷𝐾 CD is going to be the big seller this year. And my new album, I think it's going to be like almost like 86. All over again. I feel things are happening in a nice way.
Some of the awards that we see internationally, and the Nafita Awards, how many of those?
Well, the Nafita it's top now, but I thought about 6 or 7. Yeah, about 7 of those. I don't know, 8 or 7, yeah. I got a couple of national awards.
David, your music has been kept alive. You are lucky in that you have some of the charisma of Paro, the Bob Marley, and you have a large, strong following. People say, I'm a David Water fan.
Yeah.
The way they might identify with a political party or something,
yeah.
David Water fan. What do you attribute to that? Would you say because of your hard struggling in music, or is it a natural gift you have to this charisma?
I think it's something that you probably have to be born with, and plus I make good music. So, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like I was sitting here and I was thinking, last week someone came to get the rights to use run something, and a lot of music, even some of these, since from 80s right up to now, still being called upon to do things, and like generating funds and so on. So I think once you make good music, it doesn't just be like a throwaway thing.
Because as you mentioned, your music is not time.
No, there's no time.
So that's what there's no commentary that speaks about something actually
even if it
songs are always relevant.
Even if it deals with a time, even like the Hammer deals with a partner. The Hammer is a internal kind of song.
Right. Other fan men
transcends
with it.
The whole, this period, peace kind of thing.
And even songs like 1990, which definitely is a time, it speaks of an era, an important part of our history, and it lives on. What do you see David Rother doing 5 years from now, 10 years from now? You've always dreamed of reaching very well.
Yeah.
That dream still live on.
Yeah. I think as long as I'm alive, there's more to go, more music to play, more songs to come to me. and more paintings and drawings with I look forward also to seeing the boys when
How many children do you have?
2 boys.
Are they musically inclined in any way?
Well, they sing on Cafe. My big son,
What is it?
he's 9, he tends to he's in the choir, and he's also very good at he can paint and draw very well also. I just they sing now, but I don't know what they will
Yeah, the spiritual thing.
They're very bright young boys, and I don't know, maybe they might be lawyers or doctors or whatever. I don't know.
Growing up, you said people like Pharaoh and Melody was wrong, and Miley people and another song. License for Stevie Wonder's music. At present, which one of the personalities you see as being definitely future, really bright shining stars?
Maybe like
The present couple.
upcoming.
Yeah.
None. Really. I ain't really seen
You're
anything.
disappointed with the
Yeah, I ain't seen
road you're
anything.
taking.
Yeah, I mean, there might be. You see, the thing is, society always throw out.
Yes, yeah. Wow.
But I can't be. I can't really. I'm not seeing anybody. You see, the tragedy of Trinidad is that a lot of parents and teachers and so on, they write songs for youngsters and they feed them with things. And you hear these little children singing one sort of big time boring, Even if they write ABC, let them write that if they write it, and there's no sense of creativity. That's why you find out that a lot of our youngsters do a lot of different things like dance hall or rap or not because this is like a big music, but it's also they don't have their own voice.
Yeah.
They don't have their own voice, and they even have to use Jamaican accent or American accent. They play their own voice. If now you're seeing a couple of young, maybe you didn't rap in rap so world, maybe you're seeing little things happening there. That's the only little spark. But basically, like the young little kids coming up and saying, but you know what? I'm not seeing that. I ain't seeing that.
David, you are among the people, like you have in that treaty place and you're around. Do you enjoy moving around and people calling you out and being a part of society as being a superstar and away from the crowd?
Well, I enjoy being around people, but it's a very draining experience. Sometimes you have a fear going outside. People don't really, you have to be it to know it. And I understand why a lot of people kind of lock off, and it's very difficult life, very very difficult. You can go off if you don't have the control, But I like being among people, and it's like a conscious whether should I go out or not.
And so for every 25 experience,
that's why sometimes I fear for Brian Lara. But then I say we'll be born the same time, so he has to have some kind of insight of knowing how to handle this kind of crazy thing, because it's a really mad thing.
But you're a sure cricket fan?
A sports fan, I'm a sports fanatic from athletics, football, cricket, everything. I said that's small,
I used to leave Brandy to come to the Oval, now I live next to the Oval.
I used to go Southern games, Northern games. Yes. I saw Morelot, all these guys I know, all those athletes as well. I serious sports fan.
You mentioned earlier about your 1995 offering. Give us a sneak preview. You're going to bring a CD95.
It's called.
You're going to have something for fans. You're going to have something.
It's called Lyrics Man, and it's going to be like, if you like the Hammer album, you're going to like this one because this is not a sales pitch now. This is like each album has a different kind of power. Like Buyer Girl has a power, and 1980 has a power. It's a dark kind of power in 1990. But this album has about 12 different pockets of energy. It's different energy, but I'm really feel really good about it. And also say is that this is the first year in a long time. I usually come back home in the end of October, do the album in 3 weeks, send it away, and get it back hopefully by January 1st. So it's like a 3-week hustle. Most of my albums over the years. This time I stayed home this summer to do the kids and so. And during that time, I took my time and started to write songs. I would write one song really. That's how I do it. I write a song, and while the song is going on, I'm up to about 12 songs now. I'm taking the time with it. So hopefully I'll be able to get it out by November. I'm really pleased, you know. And actually, I did a song, and it's something that's happening right now in the society politically. I wrote a song a long time ago, and it's falling straight into place, you know.
I won't call it in. Tell us about performing internationally. I've heard recordings of you live in London and what you did. Do you get that same kind of response that you get from Trinidad when you perform?
Well, Trinidad is sometimes it's different. It's actually better when you're away. Because
your reputation precedes you.
No, it's more than that. People come to hear music here. Trinidad doesn't want to react to hits. If something is still on the radio, you come to do that. Like I could go out and do songs like Into the Night. I heard songs that people never see how into that. Because, for example, I do album every year, I do 35 songs. And what happens to Carver, then one gets played. So that year people no dust, you know? And the other 9 songs get wasted, you know? I can go away and sing and do some of those others. And it's like people come to do those songs, they come to hear music. So it's like you're more relaxed.
David, this is a great pleasure sharing these few moments with you and 𝐂𝐕 𝐑𝐚𝐝𝐢𝐨. Hope these 4th and 1st